News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Monica Ricks. American forces intercepted Iranian missile and drone attacks in the Persian Gulf as the war in the Middle East continues with no resolution in sight. U.S. Central Command confirmed on X that it headed off 6 ballistic missiles fired at Bahrain and Kuwait, and a 7th didn't reach its intended target. Several Iranian attack drones headed towards the Strait of Hormuz were also shut down. CENTCOM says U.S. forces later struck Iranian coastal surveillance radar sites to defend against further attacks. Meantime, President Trump has conceded that Iran has some missile and drone capacity, despite saying for months it was virtually decapitated by the U.S.
They have some missiles, they have some drones. I would say percentage-wise, maybe 21, 22% of their missiles. It's a lot of missiles, but it's not what it was when we first attacked.
The president on NBC News. He also downplayed the higher cost of oil, which has pushed gas prices higher since this war started. Brent crude closed at $93 a barrel on Friday, and nationwide, the price at the pumps now $4.19 a gallon, according to AAA. OPEC's crude output fell last month to its lowest level in months. Bloomberg's Charlie Pellet has details.
The U.S. blockade of Iran and disruption in the Persian Gulf continued to curb production. The output from its 11 current members dropped by 1.22 million barrels a day, with Iran accounting for more than half of the decline. That was the lowest in at least 37 years. Charlie Pellet, Bloomberg Radio.
Wall Street ended a historic weekly run thanks to a tech sell-off this week that followed a solid jobs report, which is now boosting bets on a Fed rate hike. Jeff Rosenberg is senior portfolio manager at BlackRock.
The question is, will the Fed get out ahead of where markets are pricing, or are markets going to try to push the Fed? So far, it's the latter. The markets are out ahead of the Fed. And really what we're seeing here, likely to see here, I should say, is the Fed playing catch-up.
That's BlackRock's Jeff Rosenberg on Bloomberg Open Interest. U.S. job growth topped all forecasts in May, and the unemployment rate held steady at 4.3%. President Trump teased a big meeting with AI execs after suggesting the government take stakes in leading AI companies and redistribute some of their gains to the public. Bloomberg's chief political correspondent and Bloomberg surveillance co-host Anne-Marie Hordern weighs in.
This potentially could help because I think a lot of American people see the amount of money these companies are spending. They're putting data centers across the country. They're having these incredible, explosive IPOs. And Bernie Sanders, senator from Vermont, caucuses with the Democrats, an independent but self-described socialist Democrat, put out an opinion piece recently, and he's been talking about this for years and saying that AI is built on all of our collective knowledge, our culture, journalists, books, etc., and the American people should have a stake in that.
That's Bloomberg's Anne-Marie Hordern on Bloomberg this weekend. Trump will likely meet with AI leaders at the White House next week. Just before 5 o'clock this morning, the Senate passed a $70 billion immigration bill to fund ICE and Border Patrol following an all-nighter on Capitol Hill. Bloomberg's congressional reporter Stephen Dennis has more from Washington.
These Republicans had a choice. They could have taken down the bill and forced changes, and they didn't. Ultimately, all the Republicans basically want this underlying bill, which will fund immigration enforcement for the next 3 years and bypass Democrats, because the Democrats, after Alex Preddy's shooting at the beginning of the year, were insisting we need to unmask ICE agents, we need judicial warrants, and the Republicans said no. And so that's what this drama has all been about.
That bill now heads to the House, which is expected to vote on it next week. A second case of the deadly screwworm parasite has now been confirmed in another calf in Texas. We get more on that from Bloomberg's Ed Kalegi.
It heightens fears of a broader outbreak that could impact the U.S. beef business. The infected animal is about 5.5 miles away from a confirmed case earlier this week, which marked the first time the pest had been detected in the U.S. in about a decade. The parasitic fly's arrival in the U.S. marks the latest hurdle for the domestic beef industry, with meatpackers and consumers both facing higher prices due to a small cattle herd. Ed Kalegi, Bloomberg Radio.
In California, Javier Becerra is now on track to advance in the state's governor's race, setting up a November matchup with either Republican Steve Hilton or billionaire Tom Steyer. Right now, Hilton holds the lead, but Steyer's campaign says late mail ballots could still push him into the runoff. The New York Knicks are one step closer to a championship after beating the San Antonio Spurs last night in Game 2, 105-104. The Knicks now lead the finals 2-0. Game 3 is set for Monday. And Russian teenager Mirra Andreeva has won the French Open, beating Polish player Maja Hlinska in straight sets. It's the 19-year-old's first Grand Slam tennis title. And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Monica Ricks, and this is Bloomberg.